Happy Friday! Hello. My lights have to be shined on my face today because the cord is too short. Hello, happy Friday. I am Chrystelle. I am the host of the Love and Meaning podcast, where we discuss all things personal development, falling deeply in love with yourself and showing up in your life as your authentic self so that you can create the meaning in your life. And this is Friday Night Live Dive. In Friday Night Live Dive, we have an opportunity to discuss and bring to life the topics of the Love and Meaning podcast. I show up here to answer your questions, to get to know you, to build a community, and to really foster embodiment. This is really a space for the meat and potatoes of personal development. Like, this is where we actually create a difference in our life. So welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm so happy to be here. I apologize in advance because I have plans tonight. I have a birthday dinner to get to, so tonight's live is going to be a little bit shorter, so we're going to get down to business pretty quickly. How this works, if you are new here, welcome. If you are old here, welcome back, is say hi as you come in and let us know what it is that you are celebrating this week. I am celebrating duality. I am celebrating a very interesting experience of absolutely loving and adoring the last 24 hours because my husband is in Chicago. He went on a business trip and I love me time so much. So I'm so grateful for the time to myself, and I found myself missing him. So I'm really appreciating that dual experience. I think I'm definitely a person who kind of needs to miss somebody. But I enjoyed the time by myself, and I'm also very happy to see him later tonight. So that is what I'm celebrating. As you come in, let me know what you are celebrating. Okay? I am so excited for what we're talking about tonight. I have my notes over here, and I also have my phone over here with the chat open, just in case sometimes it freezes over here. I can keep up with anything that you're saying here. But we got a really cool topic today, and I'm going to have a disclaimer because it is possible. I mean, it's possible that you can be triggered by anything that I say, right? That's always a possibility. But I don't want to filter myself, and I don't want to not deliver the impactful message or really talk about this stuff. So I'm going to disclaim and not filter. So if you feel very called out, like I'm talking about you, this is the opportunity to take it in, have understanding for yourself. None of this is to say, oh, I'm a bad person. Everything that I share on this channel, everything I share in the podcast, I've experienced. I'm speaking from my own lived experience. Or I'm speaking about clients, family members, friends, people that I love and adore. There is a huge, vast array of humans and human experience and human behavior and the way that we show up. You're not wrong in your way. You just are. This is all about creating the life that we want. So what we're talking about is never to make someone feel bad about themselves. What we're talking about is sharing the experience that you're having and ways that you can move past that for your own benefit. So if you're hearing something and you're like, well, this works for me, more power to you by all means. Like that, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're listening and you're like, wow, I really do feel kind of blocked and I see that I do this thing, I might want to try whatever it is that we're discussing. Okay, so what we're talking about today is the intellectualizing our problems, over-intellectualizing our problems. So the likeliness of you're listening to this is that I'm talking to you. I'm also talking to me. More so the old me, but there are some ways that this very much still shows up for me. And I will share personal examples. But there is a likeliness I'm talking to because I tend to attract people like this. And I think it's because we tend to attract who we are. You know what I mean? I grew up around people like this. I'm raised by people like this. It is me. So if you're here, there's a likeliness that you're going to relate to what I'm talking about. So we're talking about the over-intellectualizing of problems, okay? So this is when you can talk until the cows come home about your stuff, your inner stuff, okay? You are like better than the psychiatrist. Like you know how to analyze yourself and you can explain it. You can explain your mindset, your trauma, your mom's trauma, your dad's trauma, your siblings' trauma, your great-grandma's trauma, and the trauma of like 16 generations before. Like you've got the analysis down, okay? You got the analysis down. You like to talk about it, think about it. Mindset work is your sweet spot. You very much may be deep into inner work, deep into personal development and taking courses, reading books. Very much about thinking and analyzing your own behavior, other people's behavior. You're strong in this, right? So you're all about the mindset. But in order to see the actual visceral changes in your life, this would be actually stepping into embodiment, stepping into practicing a new way, the doing, and the big bad F word, the feeling on purpose. So this is the spot where you get stuck. The thinking, the mindset, you're there. This is your jam. But there's a lot of resistance. There is a limit in how much embodiment, how much stepping into actually having to feel and be uncomfortable. Okay? So this is who we're speaking to today, right? If you listen to the episode of the podcast, we went more into detail. So what I want to talk about today is what is the next step? Like, how do we move into the actual next step, right? Say hello as you come in and let me know what it is that you're celebrating this week, okay? So the thing is that we can take whatever classes that we want. We can read as many books as we want. But we're going to start to see actual change in our lives when we practice, when we do things differently than we've done it before. A lot of times the way this shows up is that you're really good at making the analysis, but you're also still dating that same type of person that you said that you're not going to date anymore. You are still in that relationship that you've been saying that you're going to leave for the past however long. You are still having a lot of trouble asserting yourself at work, speaking up for yourself at work, but you know that this is the way to go. You are having trouble charging for your services. You haven't been able to get started on that business that you want to start. You know, talking about it, great ideas, but like the moving into like, okay, now we're actually doing it. Like we're stepping, hello, been there, done that, you know? This is what I'm talking about. Like, you know it, but it's still not moving into the body, moving into the doing, moving into the stepping into the highly uncomfortable arena. All right. So what does it actually take? Like, how do we get there? You know, how do we actually move forward into this? And this is where we start to bring whatever it is that we're learning, the practices that we're learning, our new skill sets into action. We move from mindset into action. So what I want to talk about today are some of my favorite ways that I've been able to do this. Some of the things that I think are really important, things that have really, really changed my life. So I've been doing inner work for a decade now, a little over a decade now. And it wasn't until maybe 3 years ago that I was first introduced to somatic work. I didn't even know what that was. But I feel like I learned a lot. I definitely, like, my eyes had been open to an entirely new way of living, breathing, thinking. And I started to see a strong connection I started to see my manifestation power. I started to see that when my thoughts were different, because I automatically, you're going to think differently as you learn, right? So I started thinking differently, and things started showing up differently in minor ways in my life. But a lot of big things hadn't changed, wanting to start a business, dating in a very different way, these kind of things. And then I was introduced to somatics, and it happened all quite accidentally. But the thing that blew me away was my body had an intelligence of its own that I had no idea about. As far as I was concerned, if I wasn't mentally aware of it, it didn't exist. There was nothing else other than up here. And I was introduced to, what was the first thing that I did? I think it was breath work. I did tapping actually a long time ago. We talked about that with chronic pain. Tapping, I knew. But I had used tapping very specifically for chronic pain, and I never thought of even expanding it into other things, So it was breath work that I did for the first time in a inner wounds course. And oh my God, there was no going back. I mean, my body was shaking. I was crying. I'm like, where did all of this come from? Like, where were these emotions? Like, what the heck is going on? How can you not be aware that there are emotions? Our body stores a lot of emotions. Our body stores trauma. If anyone's read this excellent book, I highly recommend it, The Body Keeps the Score. Anybody who's aware of any trauma work, or done any investigation into their own trauma experience, that the body stores trauma. Our body is extremely intelligent. It becomes very equipped at helping you to block things out, or storing what you're unwilling to look at mentally in different parts of you. And so when I did the breath work, and I'm like a shaking, sobbing mess, I literally didn't recognize myself. I had never experienced anything like that, but I felt such relief. Like, how do you feel relief when you didn't know you were tense? It was an eerie, kind of ecstatic experience. Like, it was just so beautiful, and that was it. And so from there, I went deep into understanding the nervous system and understanding somatics for my own healing, because I was like, holy crap, like this was the missing piece. Okay. So when it comes to the examples that I was just talking about, you're still dating the same kind of person that you said that you're not going to date anymore, or you're still in the relationship that you said that you were going to leave 2 years ago, that you fully are aware of, have all the analysis done for why you shouldn't be there anymore. You aren't asserting yourself at work. You just can't, bite the bullet when it comes to starting that business that you have all these amazing ideas for. Like, you just aren't doing the thing that you are extremely aware of. And this was the piece. So we are really brilliant. And every part of you in your subconscious is aware that as soon as you step into the doing of the thing that you want to do, everything is going to flood forward that you have been avoiding in the not doing of it. This is why a couple sessions ago, I had us identify what are the benefits of any of your poorer coping strategies, or any of the habits that you continue to do. What are the benefits of it? Because if we continue to do something, you are benefiting from it in some way, whether you're conscious of it or not. So there is a benefit to you not making the move. There's a benefit to not dating that new type of guy. There's a benefit to not leaving that relationship. There's a benefit to not speaking up at work. And the benefit is, as soon as you step your foot into this unknown, because remember, safety in our nervous system and our subconscious has nothing to do with actual safety. It has to do with familiarity. So you feel safe in what is familiar, whether that's toxic, abusive, whatever it is, right? So when you step your foot forward into this unknown, you are going to be flooded with the feelings and emotions that come with that unknown space. Insecurity, fear, anxiety, feelings of, lack of capability, imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh, there is no entrepreneur out there. And I mean, the ones that you're just like, there's no way that they feel like an imposter. They have like $1 billion company. Every single one of us feel not good enough. It's very human. These are the things that not making the steps forward, the action step forward, are saving us from. So at the end of the day, all of this reading, learning, courses, your inner work, what it actually truly comes down to is being able to hold yourself. Being able to hold yourself emotionally as you move through life. All aspects of life. The ups, the downs, the in-betweens, the sideways, everything that comes with living a fully realized life, the life that you dream of, everything that comes with that. The inner work is so that you can hold it, so that you show up in that new space, doing that new thing with the anxiety. This isn't about not feeling anxious. It's about feeling anxious, feeling scared, feeling incapable, and soothing yourself, holding yourself, breathing, and knowing with everything that I feel, it's okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I can do this. I'm going to be okay. I've got me. The I've got me essence is literally what inner work actually comes to. I didn't know that, but 3 years ago, I didn't know that. Though I've been doing inner work for over a decade. I genuinely didn't realize, you know what? The core of this, what everything comes down to, is being able to hold yourself emotionally. If you can hold yourself through everything emotionally, there's nothing you can't do in this life. So, this is not a snap your fingers thing and then it just happens. Like I said, this has been 3 years and I'm still practicing so much. It gets easier and easier over time, and also different scenarios are different. We aren't all triggered by the same thing, okay? So yes, triggers. This is what this comes down to. I think sometimes there's a little bit of a misunderstanding around triggers, like it's something that's not supposed to happen. I want to tell you, whether you have big T trauma or little t trauma, you get triggered. If you think you don't get triggered, that tells me more about your lack of self-awareness rather than how tough you are. You get triggered. We all do. It's how do I hold myself when I'm triggered? How do I react when I'm triggered, right? We really only have 2 options. You're either going to do everything you can to avoid being triggered. That is not the life of your dreams. That is a shell version of your life. That is a safe version of your life. And as we said before, that doesn't even always mean safe. It just means familiar. So you're either going to be avoiding, or you're going to become a master of avoidance, or you're going to be a master of your emotions. These are literally the 2 options. Okay? So I want you to be a master of your emotions. I want to be a master of emotions. So that's why we're talking about this today. And this is for anyone and for everything that you want to do. But my intellectual, I have a special sweet spot for you because of how well you're able to analyze and articulate your problems and your traumas and everybody's traumas and diagnose. And you've got it so down that we do this beautiful job of tricking ourselves into thinking we're doing the work just because we talk about it so much. We think about it and we find beautiful, eloquent, intelligent ways to express ourselves and verbally understand ourselves, and then stop right there because it feels like we've accomplished the job. Oh, I figured it out. I figured out what the problem is. This is what I do. And now what? So we're going to move into the now what. And I'm just going to tell you, I think this is going to have to be a multi-parter because I mean, I could talk about this for days, and it's obviously like a huge topic, and we could even break down different sessions for different stuff. But I just want to run through some of the things that have been so supportive to me. Okay. So we're talking somatic work and nervous system care. I need my glasses because Chrystelle is getting blinder and blinder. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a personal example. Okay, so let's just in case you really are feeling super called out, like I'm like you. No, I'm talking me too. So literally last weekend, I was feeling extremely overwhelmed, but I was getting to an overwhelmed part that was moving into my subconscious. I wasn't being very conscious about it. And it was building on top of itself. And I had a busy weekend. These are the problems I've always wanted to have, a lot of client work. Well, Chrystelle has not been doing a lot of nervous system care. She wasn't thinking about that. And so what happened is little baby Chrystelle came out to play, and feeling very overwhelmed on, I think it was Saturday. I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday. I literally had a full-blown tantrum. Like, I left my body and a 5-year-old version of me came forth. And I didn't even fully catch it until I was lying on the couch. I was lying on the couch like this. Like, you can ask my husband because this is what happened. And he clearly had noticed I was off from long before me. I'm only laughing because, like, it's literally funny to watch myself in my mind. And it was funny in the moment. But so he said, so he's trying to kind of talk to the beast, okay? When the beast, the beast is going to come out, so you're tiptoeing around it. So I'm the beast. So he's tiptoeing around it, and he was like, babe, why don't you go take a walk? And I kid you not, like, if this is my foot on the couch, stamped my foot on the couch like this, and I said, I don't want to take a walk. Like that, in that voice, with that face. And the way he looked at me, like, trying not to laugh, I saw myself so clearly through his eyes. I mean, the good part of this is, like, my husband actually thought it was kind of cute. Trust me, my tantrums are not always cute. In this instance, he thought it was kind of cute. And in him reflecting to me, I saw me, and I also laughed, and I was like, okay, all right. So baby girl is here. She's here. And I know how she got here. This has been a buildup. There was no emotional intelligence inside of me at all. And it was so built up at that point that, like, I couldn't just move into being emotionally intelligent. Like, I couldn't. And I'm going to tell you, 6 years ago, maybe even less, 4 years ago version of me would not have been able to be witnessed like that in front of a person that I love and respect and whose opinion I hold dear without becoming mortified. That is not a thing. So for me to even be in this place is a sign of growth, because there was a long time when I avoided dating simply because being with another person, a relationship involves you being vulnerable and showing up exactly as you are in front of another person. You have to be able to do that and hold yourself strong and also care about their experience. That's a lot of vulnerability, and vulnerability was one of my core wounds. So to fast forward to now, to have a full-blown tantrum, and to also see, like, in it, I saw the reflection of what my inner work has done, because I'm going to tell you that when you find the right person, they can hold you through that as well. Okay? He didn't make it about him. He just witnessed me. He actually is like, so I saw the child version of you, like, enter your body. Like, he was able to see that. Had nothing to do. He knew it had nothing to do with him. And I'm really blessed to have had the support. He was so helpful and supportive for me over the weekend. What he did was like, whatever it is that I can remove from your plate, I will do. Let me do that. And he did. And it became my responsibility to take care of myself emotionally, but I also had to show up. I had clients. I had to show up and do my job. And once I got through that, Chrystelle went and did some freaking breath work. Okay? And it was like a new version of me after that. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is what it actually looks like. This is when I say in the episode, let's get messy. Like, it's time to get messy. This is what get messy looks like. That's a perfect example of it. Being in this relationship, opening my coaching business, I stepped into increased scenarios for trigger, increased scenarios. One of my weaknesses, or one of my, I don't want to call it a weakness, but in a way it's a weakness because I'm still working on finding my sweet spot with rest work. As a projector, this is constantly our job. Like, we really need to work on managing our energy. We have an inconsistent energy, right? This is something that I'm working on. I tend to at times pile up clients, or I'll even pile up excursions, like personal engagement, social engagement. If I go out too many days in a row, even with friends, even if I'm having fun, my little girl shows up. Like, I can't. Like, I just become a child. And this is the practice. This is the work. This is the work. So this is what get messy looks like. Being in a relationship, having the days where you tantrum, and being able to hold yourself. And if you're doing all things the best way possible that I hope for you, you'll also, in my scenario, like if this is something that happens at home, you'll be with a partner who's very understanding, because you would do the same for that other person. Okay. But this is what it looks like. Like, it's not pretty all the time. It's not. So what are the things that we do? Okay. So reminder, this is going to be a shorter one today because I'm running to a birthday dinner. But what are the things? And we can go deeper into this another time. And, let me know what's coming up for you. Let me know your ways, because these are just my favorite ways. But I want to talk about my favorite ways that I've been able to do this. Okay. So the thing is, whatever it is that is the actually taking the action steps. So this is, when you're choosing to leave, when you are learning to speak up for yourself. Communication was a huge one. You want to talk about doing the work. Communication is something I'm constantly working on. When it comes to actually making these changes and doing this, I highly recommend you have support. Okay. And I don't just mean like support from a supportive partner. That's great. My husband was great, but that's not what I mean from support. Like, I've worked with multiple practitioners and coaches. Right now, there's one person that I'm doing somatic work, and that's with one of my coaches. But I have had an IFS practitioner. I have had ART, accelerated resolution therapy. There are multiple different support systems that I highly recommend that you make use of. And coaching, okay? These are things that we can work on in coaching. I am not a practitioner in terms of like IFS. That's not something that I would do with you, or accelerated resolution therapy. These are things that you can work on with a specific therapist, right? Or EMDR. Some people love acupuncture, whatever, like you work on with that practitioner. But what you can do with coaching is what comes up for you. Like, so many things come up after breathwork. Like, I have so many insights, so many things come up, from accelerated resolution therapy. It's not that it leaves you raw, but I see into myself. I see into my triggers and my wounds and limiting beliefs, all of these things. And my coach is a person that I get to work through these things with. So these are the perfect opportunities to give yourself the support. And with coaching, I would be there, that even in between video sessions, that we're texting about it. Like something came up after EMDR and we have voice noting, back and forth, voice messaging, instant messaging all the time. So these are things that you can have support through, because it makes an enormous difference having an outside perspective. It makes an enormous difference. There are so many different ways that this can be supportive. So these are things that I'm so happy to carry you through while we're working towards your goals. So the things that I've loved, okay, breath work. Number one. I think my number one favorite is breath work. And that is something that I can do with you, though. There are multiple different, like, real amazing breathwork practitioners. There's breathwork workshops. There's even entire weekends that you can go and do. You could also find stuff on YouTube, but it's a wonderful technique that I recommend to every single client that I work with. Tapping, another thing that I can do with you. I absolutely adore tapping. It has done tons for me. Tapping is the one, we did it in one of our Friday Night Live dives, I believe. But that's where you tap on the meridian points, and you move through different you speak yourself through different emotional experiences. So that's another word for tapping, or name for tapping, is emotional freedom technique, EFT. So breath work, emotional freedom technique, IFS, highly recommend. Okay. Internal family systems. That's what IFS is. I worked with an IFS practitioner for about 9 months. She's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend that. So internal family systems works on identifying the different aspects of yourself emotionally within you as a network. So every part of you makes up your network. You have sensitive parts. You have protector parts. There are different parts of you when you're triggered that come out to play, or there are different parts of you that are affected when triggered. You learn to speak to them as if they are almost like your child, like as if they are part of your family. So internal, inside, family, it's love, it's a unit, it's all yours system. So you have an internal system of parts that you're going to start to bring into your conscious mind and speak to them. You learn you gain such depth, okay? You come to such immense depths within yourself, speaking to your parts. I cannot recommend that enough. That is not something that I am certified to do, IFS. But if you are interested in really understanding where your trauma comes from, there is so much research and there are so many studies that demonstrate the effectiveness of IFS. So there are some ways that I can use parts work with you, and many different coaches use parts work, but I worked with an actual IFS practitioner alongside my coaching. Hi, baby bear. Okay, well, can't read. Mama has to pick up Aunt Val, so I can't be with you. Oh, that's okay, Mom. Thank you for popping in to say hi. Happy Friday. I love you. Say hi to Aunt Val. What were we talking about? Yeah, so IFS, that was another one that is one of my absolute favorites. So where I like to incorporate this in coaching is, let's say that we're discussing a reaction that you had in a scenario with a friend, with someone at work, with a partner. We can go within you. Like if you describe what it is that you're feeling, and then if I ask you, what part of you is responding? Like what part of you do you think is having this response? We can pull that part out, and it gives you a lot of insight into the kind of protective systems and walls that you've built inside of yourself. So when a person says something to you, if it really hits something that is sensitive and tender, you have another part that comes out to protect it. And that might look, like the wild mama bear, like, get away from my baby. That's kind of like what our parts are doing inside of us. And the reaction might be picking a fight. Sometimes the reaction is stonewalling. Sometimes the reaction is getting the heck out of there. But these are all trigger responses. It's so helpful to learn what your parts are, how they show up, what role it is that they're playing. And once you start to recognize them and speak to them, you can assign them different roles and they can become more cohesive. But the whole point of it is to learn to send love and compassion to all of these parts of you, because you realize they're only simply trying to protect you. It's a beautiful system. I'm celebrating my very good friend who is here with me. I'm sorry, I'm having a really blurry vision day. I'm celebrating my very good friend who is here with me and I haven't seen in 28 years. Oh, and 𝑡𝑒𝑟, that's beautiful. I hope you guys have such a wonderful time. Oh, I can't bring the light because the cord is too short today, so I'm flashing the light on my face for you. Woo! Friday Night Lights. All right, so we said breath work, I said tapping, I said IFS, accelerated resolution therapy, art. So that's another really amazing one. So I also worked with an acceleration resolution therapy practitioner, and that is a little bit similar to EMDR, which is a trauma technique. But again, this works whether it's big T trauma or little T trauma. As far as I know, I don't have any big T trauma, but I have little T trauma, and it doesn't matter. It shows up and it messes with you, and you create ways of avoiding whatever feels sensitive and triggerable in you. So all of these things are beneficial. So with my art therapist, not art therapist, ART therapist, we kind of rebuild a new memory for something that has occurred in the past. So through their expertise, through what they do, it's like it uses eye movement. They make you have to look back and forth through that, and also they're guiding you through like visualizations and such things. You are going back to memories, things that have happened in your life in which you characterize yourself as powerless or weak, and you rebuild the memory. And remember, our brains don't know the difference between something imagined and something real. There are plenty of studies. Michael Phelps is a great example of this. We all heard about it, with his huge Olympic wins back in the day, how he did really intense visualization of himself winning matches, swimming, even identifying the flaws in his swimming in visualization and then correcting them. And the results are phenomenal. So this stuff works. Like, this stuff works. So in areas that I found myself continuously finding triggers, like these are the triggers where it's like, this is really sticky. Like I can't seem to get past this conversation or this thing without feeling my whole body like go into reaction. Those are the things that we worked on. So effective. So absolutely effective. Meditation is my simplest and most favorite. I believe that every single one of us can benefit in one way or another, however that works for you. And 𝑡𝑒𝑟 sends love. Hi, Aunt 𝑡𝑒𝑟. However that works for you, finding silence within yourself, quieting your mind is immensely impactful. And I think one of the things that people might misinterpret with meditation is thinking that it's supposed to make you positive, right? You're gonna meditate, and I'm gonna just like definitely meditated and been in a bliss state. Once you experience that state, you'll understand that it's not about being happy, positive. It actually is about bringing you to a neutral state. Most of the time, when our emotions aren't in check, when we don't have any emotional processing, when we don't know how to sit with our emotions, we don't know how to run them through our body, they just build and build and build and build and build. So you're never really at a neutral. Oftentimes you're just right on the tip that anybody could just look at you wrong and you blow up. That wasn't necessarily because the person is so horrible the way they looked at you. It's that you were in a place where anybody could do anything wrong and you would blow. Meditation brings you to a neutral. If you think of our thoughts as a radio and there's a volume dial, meditation allows you to turn the volume down and turn it back up. When we learn moments where we turn the volume down, we realize that we think our thoughts don't think us. And when you realize that you think your thoughts, it gives you a much stronger sense of control, and you will walk through life with more objectivity, more neutrality. So that person's look isn't just going to set you off. It might completely brush off your shoulder. You might not even notice it, but you're not a ticking time bomb, basically. So meditation is one of the most basic and effective ways that I have found as an emotional regulation technique. But overall, so based on, I said my favorite ones that I actually employ on a regular basis. So breath work is something that I would like to. I haven't been great at recently, but I'm definitely going to get back into. At one point, I was excellent, and it made a huge difference. I don't think this tantrum that I had last weekend would have happened if I was doing my breath work. So it's something that I like to do weekly, on a weekly basis. And whatever technique works for you, let me know what those are. List them in the comments. Whatever those are that work for you, have them in your regular routine, because we don't realize how much our emotions build up. At a very base level, what I'll end with is being able to process our emotions is extremely important. So the idea here is not that, as you know, you're going to go on that new date with that new kind of person that you're trying to, see instead of the old kind of person that you were dating. You're breaking that habit. When you leave your relationship and you're feeling totally afraid. And again, remember, I said I highly recommend you doing this with support, with a coach, with a therapist. And I'm happy to be that coach for you, to support you through this. The link for my packages and to do a 20-minute clarity call is in the show notes, as well as on my Instagram, Coaching with Cree. In the bio, you have the link for all of my services. So again, do this with support, but the idea here is not that you're not going to get triggered. The idea is that you can be triggered and stay calm. You will continue to be triggered in life as we move through life, as we move through new experiences, as we try new things, as we push our limits, as we become brave. You're going to be triggered. Okay? But you will learn how to be calm as you're triggered. You're going to learn to identify the physical location of your feelings in your body. I didn't even know that 3 years ago. Every emotion that you have, it shows up physically in your body. So the first thing that you want to learn to do is when you feel something, let's say it's anxiety, where do you feel it in your body? Okay, it's in my chest. All right, it's in my chest. Can I give it some attention? Just breathe into it. And you sit and you breathe with your emotion and you just feel it. While you feel it, how does it feel? Is it heavy? Is it prickly? Is it round? Does it have a texture? Spiky, smooth, sharp? Does it have a color? You're just giving it attention. Very similar to like these parts of you. Like I said, like a child, like it wants to be seen and accepted and integrated. This is the integration. Half of the time, as soon as I've just given the attention to the feeling, it dissipates like at least 50%. You can learn to do that, and you're sitting on the date and looking at the other person and they can't even tell. Whereas before, maybe you would need to get up and excuse yourself, or maybe you're just not going on those dates. You know, if we can hold ourselves through the feelings that come up, you're able to make these changes. You're able to take the aligned action that leads to exactly what it is that you want. So, as I said, we can go on with this forever, and I promise that we are going to go deeper into it. So if there are things that I said today and you have questions about, please write them in the comments, okay? Write anything that comes up for you in the comments. If you guys are interested in finding any of those practitioners, let me know. I can find out if I can place their contact in the show notes as well. And again, if you're ready to do any of these things and you just want someone to support you through it, I'm so happy to do that. I have coaching services. I have human design readings as well. My links to my services is in the show notes. If you click on the coaching link, it'll take you to book a 20-minute clarity call so we can have a discussion. We can talk about your goals. And inside of that link, you're going to see all of the different packages and pricing. If you go to my Instagram again, at Coaching with Cree, you'll also see a list of my services and my coaching packages. So let me know what comes up for you. I know that they kind of like rushed through it, but I really want us to, we've been building, we've been on intuition, we've been on getting brave. There's no way that we can talk about all that stuff without getting into the somatics, without getting into like what's actually the work, which is emotional mastery, which is holding ourselves solid and strong as we make these big steps in our life. Okay. I love you all. I wish you the most wonderful weekend. I do have to run. I wish you the most wonderful weekend. Remember, the podcast drops Monday mornings, 8 a.m. EST, and you can always meet me here Friday, 6 p.m. on my YouTube page, and we get to talk about it. I love you. Have a fabulous weekend. Bye.